Matt Flax on 947.
It's Black Coffee, Nakane Toria on vocals. It's called We Dance Again, and we are talking all things babies. Quickly explain to you what is going on here. There has been a landmark ruling coming through here in South Africa where we are going to be changing what the law actually says about maternity and paternity leave. So for this reason, we have got attorney Dylan Bouchier coming through to give us a bit of an explanation. He's from Solomon Holmes Attorneys, employment law specialist. And all I have to say is thank you for giving up your Sunday. Let's face it, this is one heck of a way to spend it.
No, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a very interesting topic, so I'm happy to share the knowledge.
Now, I understand quite a lot has changed. This is something that I was surprised has taken this long for the conversation to actually get to where it is. So where were we and where are we now? What is basically taken place?
Yeah, so I mean, initially the law was that you would have maternity and paternity leave as a split type of leave, one for father, one for mothers. Mothers would get 4 months unpaid maternity leave, and they'd be able to claim from the UIF, and fathers would get 10 days of unpaid maternity leave. They could also claim from the UIF. So really, I think this conversation did take a little while to come to the fore because we needed a unique circumstance to come about in order to get the court's attention. And so what happened in this case was it was brought by Vadner and Eike van Wyk, and their situation was a little bit unique in the sense that Eike van Wyk ran two businesses of her own. So she was self-employed or ran her own businesses, and her husband was employed. And I think that in order to ensure that her business kept running, she needed to look after those businesses, and he needed to take 4 months off to be the primary caregiver. And when he applied for 4 months leave from his employer, they said, look, this is what our policy says, and it's aligned with the law, saying only mothers get 4 months maternity leave. In the end, the company did agree to 6 months unpaid leave, but they weren't satisfied with this position, and they thought it was unfair. And this is where I guess the conversation comes about, and this is where it came to the High Court. They brought a case against the Minister of Justice and Employment, and Minister of Employment and Labour, and they challenged the constitutionality of Section 25 of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which is the section that governs parental leave or maternity leave and paternity leave.
That's wild.
Yeah, and so they said this is not fair, and the High Court agreed with them and said it's unconstitutional that we have these two different leave benefits for parents when in fact it should be accommodating to all. And so the High Court found it was unconstitutional, and as a result it needed to go to the Constitutional Court to confirm that order. And the Constitutional Court then said, absolutely, we agree. And so we believe that all parents, no matter what type of parent you are, whether you are a mother, you're a father, whether you're adoptive parents, a surrogate parent, you get to qualify for 4 months and 10 days of leave.
So this is where I actually want to chat to you, and the reason why I sort of brought you in, because there seems to be a lot of moving parts to this. So am I right in saying that it now gets divided? You can say, we both want to do 2 months, 5 days. We both want to do perhaps 1 month, 3 months, that the division is. It's basically that is an allotted amount that then gets divided between the two people.
Absolutely. So they've done away with the division between maternity and paternity leave. Now it's parental leave. It's just parental leave. And so what that means is if both parents are employed, they would both have 4 months and 10 days to divide between themselves. And so the law says that this is an interim order of the court, which needs to be the Basic Conditions of Employment Act still needs to be amended, as well as the Unemployment Insurance Act, to align with the court order. But ultimately what the court has said in the interim is that if you're both employed, then you can split that 4 months and 10 days however you like. And if there is a disagreement and they can't come to an agreement, they have to split it down the middle as closely as possible. And what the court did emphasize is, please, you need to really consider the health and the recovery of the mother when making these decisions.
Yeah.
That's a very important one. And so the court said that mothers can take 4 weeks prior to the date of the birth. They can start their maternity leave, and then of course they would have to be on maternity leave or the parental leave, shall I call it now, for 6 weeks thereafter. And so they need to take that into consideration when making this division.
Now, this is actually something that came up from one of our listeners. Anya sent a message to say that she is self-employed. So does she count as an employer? Is she able to negotiate on her behalf with her partner's employer to make sure that it is equitable?
So because she's self-employed, it's actually a very similar situation to myself and my wife. She's self-employed and I'm employed. So in that situation, whether you're a single parent or your partner is self-employed, then the employed parent would qualify for the full 4 months and 10 days. So your listener here, their partner, if they were employed, they would qualify for the full 4 months and 10 days.
Okay, go get it, Anya. You get to have 8 months collective between the two of you if you should so desire. Look, what we're going to be doing is Dylan is going to be sticking around with us in the next 10 minutes. So if you've got questions, if there is specific things that you want to ask around this whole parental leave that is now being called, send them through if you've got a specific case scenario. Because one thing I will say, South Africans have come out with very unique questions because I think we've got very unique family dynamics. So let me know what those questions are. You can either let me know on the WhatsApp line 066 3818609 or phone in 011 8838 947. We'll get into that up next.
Matt Flax on 947.
Jimmy Nevis, it's called Breaking Up With You on 947, 11:30 here on a Wednesday, and we are talking all things babies, specifically parental leave. Things have changed in South Africa. There's a court ruling that is meaning that we're going to be looking at parental leave a little bit differently. 4 months, 10 days is the number that's being thrown around, and that's now being divided, or at least should you fulfill it. So we've got Dylan Bouchier in. He is an attorney from Solomon Holmes Attorney, employment law specialist, and specifically what I want to find out is, does everyone qualify for this? Is there certain things that you are going to have to tick a box where they go, right, you now are right for it? Or is it just a blanket case where it theoretically applies to everyone?
So there used to be, as I mentioned earlier, excuse me, that division between your maternity leave, paternity leave, and you would also have adoption. And adoption was 10 weeks, from the date of the court order of adoption. You could, take the child. And so the High Court said that this division makes no sense. Why must one parental setup be different to the next? We all need to bond with the child. We all need to care and raise and be caregivers one way or another. So now there is no divide. If you're an adoptive parent or just the birth mother and the father to that child, everybody qualifies for 4 months and 10 days parental leave.
Oh, cool. Okay, because that was actually a question that we did have come through. Martin says, does it apply to adoption or surrogacy? Which I guess is what you're saying over
Correct.
there, is that it now doesn't define whether it is a biological child or an adoptive child.
Correct. And even to the extent that the old law or the previous law said 2 years for an adopted child, that the constitutional courts and the High Court said that makes no sense. If you adopt a child at 13 years old, there shouldn't be a difference. You should be able to have that time to bond and care and be with that child.
There's another question that's been coming through. This was something that I actually found on social media, where there was someone who said that he works with a gent who currently has 14 children through multiple mothers. What happens in those sorts of relationships? What would the case be? I mean, you can't have someone who's off every 2 weeks if they perhaps are having kids with various people.
Yeah, so look, I mean, I think, if this parental leave applies to every child that you'll have, I think where the consideration really comes in is because parental leave is unpaid, you'd have to claim your UIF benefits in terms of the Unemployment Insurance Act. And those benefits are going to run out eventually because you make a contribution together with your employer. And of course, when you then apply for those UIF benefits, they get paid out to you over that period of your parental or maternity leave, as it still is. And I must just point out that the Constitutional Court said that they couldn't make an interim order in terms of the UIF benefits. They said they didn't have enough information before them, and because it has such a serious financial consequence for the government and the state, pocket, I guess you'd call it, they haven't made that. So at the moment, you could only, as a father, you could take 4 months and 10 days if that's what you decided to do.
But it would be unpaid.
But you could only claim 10 days from the UIF as it currently stands until, because the Constitutional Court has suspended the order for 36 months for Parliament to make those changes to Unemployment Insurance Act. So as things stand, unless you have an incredibly amazing benefit from your employer where they pay you, I think the period of time that you take off, or however many children you have, would be dependent upon your UIF benefits.
36 months, for those counting on their fingers right now, that's 3 years that we're currently looking at. That is a long time for this to actually be debated. Is that something that could be a bit sooner, or is that likely how long it's going to take for this conversation to take place?
Look, I mean, the Parliament could do it by tomorrow, but they have up to 36 months to do it, because they're going to need to consult with a lot of different stakeholders. They're going to need to do a lot of research when it comes to the Unemployment Insurance Act and how we're going to make those amendments. So there's a lot of work to do behind the scenes, and I think that a 36-month period is a fair period.
So what's interesting is, up until now, everything that I've been asking about has been for people who are going to be receiving this. But I've actually got a question coming through here from Bongani to say, how do corporates handle this? Do we have to meet with the other company to divide the leave, or is this just an agreement that you are going to have with your employee?
So I think the first thing that we are recommending our clients do is to relook at their policies, relook at the collective agreements that they've entered into with the trade unions, and look at aligning the provisions as they currently are in those policies and collective agreements to the law as it stands. So I think that's the most important thing that employers must do now, because whether your policy allows for 10 days or 4 months and 10 days, the bottom line is your employee is allowed 4 months and 10 days. So those changes must be made. I guess, with respect to those who are currently have benefits that pay employees, you're going to have to, make those benefits equally available to fathers as well. So that's, I guess, where we sit at the moment.
Well, Dylan, all I have to say is this is something that I knew absolutely nothing about, and now I feel like I'm certainly not at a point where I'm going to be a specialist about it, and that's why we have people like you. So thank you for coming through, and thank you to everyone who actually sent through questions. If people do have questions, how do they get in touch?
They can go onto our website and they can find our contact details there, and all our information is there. They're more than welcome to reach out.
So when you say website?
www.solomonhomes.co.za.
Nice and simple. Well, brother, thank you for coming through.
Thank you very much.
And I guess that is it. As I say, something a little bit different here on a Sunday, but it is a brand new ruling, so we thought we'd get on top of that. Still on the way, some of the things you're going to be hearing: Rudimental's Khalid, as well as DJ Clark. It's going to be playing after these.
Matt Flax on 947.